So, if you've noticed in the past couple years that a silent enemy has been invading our almost everyday lives as creators, makers, and just the general public viewing all of this that's been going on, what I'm talking about is AI slop and its uh, proliferation and pretty much everything that we've been doing. And it's not good. Really, it is not good at all. So, if you haven't really heard of, I'm sure you probably heard of the term AI slop, but if you haven't, what it means is that a piece of art or whatever that has been created by AI, most notably, you're probably seeing this on either Facebook groups or even more worse is through YouTube with the proliferation of this AI slop, these shorts, and it's also on TikTok too. But just focusing on what is the AI slop is this garbage video that you can instantly tell it has no rhyme or reason. There is nothing that makes sense about it. You can tell that if a human had made this, that they probably spent less than 60 seconds making it, but since it's made by AI, it has spent not even 60 nanoseconds on creating it and then pumping out as much of it per day as not, I was about to say humanly possible, but machine possible. That it's just overwhelming the senses of how bad a lot of this stuff is, and it's not good because that's the topic for tonight's episode is how AI slop is affecting makers and creators and our lives, our livelihoods, and the you know demoralization of what we do and where we're getting like inundated or passed over because people are so inundated with this AI slop stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on with this and basically talk about like the impact on search results within marketplaces and content platforms. So I pulled up a I just did a web search for AI slop and web work. Wow, AI slop and woodworking. See, words are hard. So what we have here is something that you would. I know I kind of goosed this search for a little bit, but it gives very good example of what I was talking about with AI slop. So if you're doing like let's say woodworking or creating a table, like a dining room table, normally what you would do is you normally would go and look at the images because if you want to get some inspiration from other people, other woodworkers, or anybody else has worked on the project that you're thinking about doing, and you want to see what they have done, so it's kind of be inspired, and all of a sudden you come across this. And for the audio listeners, it is a very obvious picture of AI of a woodworker, I guess putting the finishing touches on his masterpiece of this massive table that just by the looks of it probably weighs a couple 100 pounds because the tabletop itself is about 6 or 8 inches thick, and it is probably like 8 foot by 4 or 5 feet wide, and these massive pedestal legs that are probably 30 to 60 pounds each. More likely it's a solid wood on top of some kind of thing that it's resting on. I don't know. Anyways, it is very obvious of what it is. This is AI picture because a wood glue bottle is bigger than his shoe. But it's just this stuff right here is just another example of what we have to deal with and being, looking for inspiration. And I find out, even looking through Etsy, they have made or tried to make it a little bit easier to not be inundated with AI listings. But even then, you still come across, there is this one here. It is a 200 easy woodworking projects. I guess a book for different plans that you can use to create different projects like end tables, chairs, picnic tables. But obviously, the cover art for the book is AI generated. And it's just, and they're selling it for $5. And it's like, okay, it's 200, or yeah, 200 plus easy woodworking projects. And I did a search for woodworking, and it comes up with a t-shirt. Sure, it has some relevance to woodworking. And as you're going through, this right here, again, for the audio listeners, it is looks like a carving of a rooster, but it's more of a 2D kind of relief of a rooster made out of wood. But the thing is, I don't know if it is actual real. Is it a real project? Because a lot of the time, it's getting harder and harder to figure out what's real and what isn't. Like, I can't tell. I have to do like a lot of pixel peeping to figure out, is this an actual carving? I don't think it is, especially when they're charging, or they're selling this for $1. Well, it was basically $2, but it's 45% off. Sale ends in one day. Oh, better hurry and get it. But it's just, one of those things. They have other listings here that is a cardinal that I would like to give the benefit of the doubt that this is real. Sure, yeah, those are hands, sanding. But I can't, it gets very difficult. Okay, so they have like a picture of it mounted on the wall. And it looks, about 1.5 feet tall. But when you look at some of these pictures, sometimes the sizing doesn't align. Like, it's this massive thing, but I don't know. Just, I'm not calling out this particular person. It's just, it makes it very difficult to figure out what is actually real and what isn't anymore. Especially in the makerspace, it's kind of, it's like I have in the Chiron here, is AI is poisoning our search results and making our job as, someone who is looking for inspiration for different projects and trying to figure out, oh, this might look nice. Might be a good idea to, try out and start producing the plans and getting it built. Is it possible? Because is the final product that I'm looking at actually something based in real life, or is it just, made up by a machine? So it's frustrating in that factor of trying to figure out what is real, what isn't. And especially if you're trying to sell something, it makes things even more difficult, because it's kind of, it's the race to the bottom. Is, well, the AI is producing all this garbage for pennies on a dollar, and the production value of what is coming out is garbage, and you're paying like a couple dollars for it. So when people see a piece of art and they for less than $10, and then you look at another listing like one or two down just next to it, and it's actually human made art and a craft piece, and they're charging $100 to $200. What is that person going to do? They're going to go for the cheap one. But once they get the item, they're going to be seriously look at it and say, I've been ripped off. But the whole experience of the purchasing experience has been tainted. It's been completely ruined by, again, like I said, race to the bottom in pricing and quality. And unfortunately, it's only going to get worse as the cost of AI is just continuing to get lower and lower in certain aspects, I should say. And the ability for these, was it content farmers or AI farmers to just produce all of this stuff every day of the week, constant, like 100 pieces out every single time, because it's not an actual human that's doing this, and it's a machine, and you're having to fight against a machine posting up 30, 40, 100 listings a day while you're working on maybe one or two every couple days. So you're already behind the eight ball, like you're a football field behind the eight ball. And again, it's getting worse and worse. So how can, as a maker, how can we continue to try to produce our best work and, try to outshine the garbage? Because the thing is, there is a market for garbage. I hate to say it. Excuse me. There is a market for garbage, unfortunately, that people enjoy watching the AI slop videos. They like reposting the shrimp Jesus and all sorts of stuff like that. But it's just, how can we as makers be able to stand out? So let's actually talk about that and go through, and how can we stand out? Well, I was looking through YouTube, and I actually came across Adam Savage tested his YouTube channel, and he was talking with uh, hang on. He was been talking to this person that does the engraving or handcrafted engraving, and it was great to see this person that she has been doing this. I think she mentioned that a little bit over 10 years now. But she is the last. She's claiming, but it's probably a good claim, the last hand graver in San Francisco, and she made a point that the fact that she actually uses hand tools instead of using pneumatics or some other kind of machine aided tools to create her work for her clients. And that is just awesome to see that, like, with, if you're watching this on video, I'm playing the video from tested the video with her, Adam talking with Marlon Hazel. She's the engraver that is the topic of this particular little tangent. Going through and showing off some of the work that she has been doing. And I think it's a great idea that people like her are still out there. Yes, there might be not as many, but it's still a great thing to see that someone like her is still going out there producing this fabulous artwork and pieces for, her clients, and it's all handcrafted. And that's the thing I was want to talk about, is that that's how you basically can make yourself known out there, to put yourself on that pedestal above all this AI slop and all this AI nonsense that is just, you know, completely inundating the market. If you're doing engraving, or if you're doing woodworking, or if you're doing art, um, I'll show here this is Corey Artist. He does digital painting, and he likes to do it during his live stream, that going through his work of him actually going through the process of creating the digital art, so it can prove that, hey, this digital art piece was created by a human. Here's the proof, and here's the final result, or here's the entire process of the art. And that's really awesome to see. Yes, I know Corey Art, not personally, but through my work with my previous alteration with alternative platforms and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been watching him, and I'm a fan of his work for a couple years now. Anyways, the fact of the matter is that you have people like Corey, you have people like Marlon, and many others that are just out there producing, spending the time and creating this artwork that is made by an actual human, that really can be found anywhere else easily, because AI is not up to the point where it can easily copy and mass produce what we're making, especially in the physical goods market. Unfortunately, we are seeing it take place in that aspect. I have a future episode of the Maker Dad podcast where I'm going to be talking about it's kind of like the book nooks, and a lot of that is starting to become under the influence of AI slopification. But it's one of those things that even as a maker, we kind of have to walk a fine line of using AI ethically, and between that and being replaced by it. So I know this is a very controversial topic. Hot take coming in. Using AI automatically puts you at a position where you are instantly deemed unworthy, but you can use AI as a tool in helping you create not your art or what you're doing, but your workflow. I use some AI, especially in my video transcripts. I take my video transcripts, I tell AI to just look for spelling mistakes, sentence structure errors, or anything like that, and make it a little bit more readable without changing my voice or tone or anything about it. Pretty much write it as is, but condense a few things here and there to make it more palatable. Because if you try reading a video transcript at any point in time, you would quickly understand that it becomes just a wall of text. So that's what I use AI for. Not just because I want to use AI to just do the work for me. I do it because I unfortunately do not have the time. I have a full-time job, plus also a family to, be part of, and, living a life. So I do this content creation as a hobby, as eventually a potential to create as a business that I am striving towards. But at the current point in time, I do not have the financial means and the time to do it myself, or to hire an editor and a copywriter to do the work for me. So that's where AI can kind of fit in the short term, that I can eventually move from using AI into using a human to copyright my stuff. But I don't use it to replace me and the work I do. It is just a tool. It is just a hammer, a screwdriver, or a saw, or a paintbrush, or anything else that a artist or creator, a maker uses. You're not getting replaced by a hammer. The hammer is not doing the work for you. You're using it to create or be a process of creating something with it. So that's just, I know, probably have been pushing, people knowing that have pushed away. Oh, he uses AI. I can't listen to him. I am completely disgusted with Josh and his confession of using AI. He is just as bad as people that post shrimp Jesus and everything else like that. I'm sorry if that's how you feel. I am sorry that you feel that way. And their life is not black and white. It is a palette of gray. So that is just my little soapbox of how I use AI and not ethically and not want to be replaced by it. So how can we do? And the thing is that we do have a lot of people are pushing back against the use of AI, especially in the artwork, our art world, where they're like I showed Corey with him going through the process during a live stream of creating this digital art piece that he can post up on his site, and I'll post up his site, Marlin Tested, and Savage, and all the stuff I showed here so far. And it's just one of those things where, let me say that we as a human species, we make fun of a lot of things, but we do have this way of talking about it. Like I saw this meme here. It's the Family Guy meme, and if you're an audio listener, it's basically the role of Meg is that you guys always like you're better than me, and of course everyone, Peter, I forgot his wife's name, and the son is like pixel artist, traditional artist, digital artist, and then you got Stewie on the ground, a literal child with crayons. So I thought that was funny. It's stupid, but I thought it was funny. But anyways, it's just that there is a movement of people, creators and makers are pushing to get their artwork and their stuff out there shown that, hey, yes, what we produce might be at a higher cost, but it is what you're getting is something that can never be replicated, because this piece that I worked on for 80 hours, a machine, yeah, it can come close and it probably can make it look the same, but there's no soul in it. There is nothing human about it, because the machine can pump out hundreds of copies of this, whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, you can buy it for like $10 or $20, but there is no emotion inside that piece of art or that piece of wood that has been turned into something. So there is that human made goods that are being pushed out there that you're never going to see that from AI Slop. So what's the outlook of the future look like and adapting to this landscape? We're going to see a lot more of this AI slopification continuing to invade social media, websites, the artistry market, woodworking, arts and crafts, fabric, pretty much any kind of craft maker space. anything really. I couldn't think of anything else, but at the time, but we're going to see more and more of this infiltrating that space. And the only thing I can say is that yes, we'll have to deal with more of it, but the fact remains, like I just said, your art of what you're making includes the emotion that you put into that piece. And no machine is going to be able to replicate that emotion that you put into that piece ever. Sometime in the future, 100, 200, maybe 600 years from now, we're zipping around and Starfleet ships, and it's a perfect utopia. And at that time, maybe, but be very close because, well, it's in the far future. And as a human species, we can't really think of that far ahead. Many of us don't think more than a quarter, 3 months ahead. And that's a sad fact of life, is that so much of our life is a go to like the Fast and the Furious. We live our life a quarter mile at a time. Basically, it's a quarter on the calendar, and that's a sad fact. But try to think of what the future of you or your future generations, what would be affected, and the current environmental and social aspects of what AI slopification is going to happen and going to have on us as a species and as a community. And I can only hope that it's becomes better. Now we see a better pushback against the oligarchs. I know I probably said that wrong, but whatever. It's my show, damn it. I can do whatever I want. More pushback and more push to be more mindful of how we are and how we interact with each other and what we purchase and what is important to us, really. That's all I can think of. So I hope you can come across this episode with a little bit more hope that things might get better. They will get better. And just look for, the human-made stuff, because that stuff is better than the machine-made stuff. And if you have any experiences or anything like that you want to share with myself or the rest of the community and people who are listening or interact with the podcast, or even just the blog post on the site, it's themakerdad.com. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would definitely leave a 5-star review, because that would be awesome, and you are awesome. And you can write out a review if you feel like it. If you don't, that's okay. 5-star review. It's free. I know I'm trying to shill for that. But anyways, but hopefully you had a great time during this episode. And I will hope to see you next week as we talk about another topic that could be near and dear to you. But anyways, thanks for listening. I'm Josh. This is the Maker Dad Podcast. And I'll see you later, taters.